So you guys are like wild deer?
We the hunters, bro.
Amir, over here.
Marin, it is a pleasure to be speaking with you. I'm such a huge fan. I think you're a bit of a modern, underrated scream queen with all your work in horror. But this show takes place in the real world, and it's arguably about some of the horrors of the real world. So talk to me a little bit about why you chose to do this, and if it compares to how it compares to some of your previous work.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot about this show that I feel like is speaking to the current moment that we're in. Obviously, as you mentioned, it's about, in some ways, it touches on the opioid crisis. In some ways, it touches on the fact that right now we're in a place in the world where the good guys and the bad guys are not clearly delineated. It's hard to identify who the good guys are. We're in this gray area right now. We don't know who to turn to, where we have to really sort of just lean on each other and take care of each other. That to me was a big reason. I love a crime show. I love a twisty crime drama, but I think that that's a little bit of the Trojan horse of this show. It's like, come for the crime drama, stay for the tender heart and the sort of people trying to break cycles of grief and trauma and addiction and all of that. I think that really speaks to where we are too, trying to find a healthy way to cope with all of the big, scary stuff we're dealing with. Like you said, it's like there's a lot of horror that we're living through day to day, and I think something about this show is like the only way through is with each other and to lean on each other. Ultimately, to me, is what I feel like this show is talking about, and I think that's really special.
Very well said. And then can you just tell me a little bit about your character for people who haven't seen the show yet?
Well, I can't spoil anything.
Okay.
So what I can say is that Christy is a lot more than she maybe first appears to be. She has a real problem with authority, and she gets in some pretty deep trouble. I can say that about her, but she's definitely got a lot more to her than meets the eye.
Favorite person to work with?
Oh my God.
If you have to choose one, or two, or anyone, I don't know.
I mean, I never did any scenes with Wagner, spoiler alert, and Brian is kind of like, he can't get rid of me now, I'm obsessed with him. But second to Brian would be Shermie the dog.
Okay.
Shermie's the best.
I can't argue with that. Marin, I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you so much, and I cannot wait for people to see you.
Thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Take care. If I could just have you for one moment.
Sure.
I just want to know, you're such a great actress.
Thank you.
Just when I thought that you couldn't break my heart and steal my attention any more than you have in Star Trek and Orange is the New Black, you do it again here. How the heck did you pull it off? Tell me what drew you to the series. It's a show about drugs above everything else.
The writing is exquisite. The writing is absolutely exquisite. So I read 5 pages and said to myself, I can't believe this guy. He's Chekhovian. His name is Peter Gregg. I don't know him well, but nobody writes on this level. He does. And one episode was just better than the next. He realizes that people think and speak on 10, 12 different levels at once, and he manages to incorporate that into the writing. And so, if he's lucky enough to get a cast that understands the Chekhovian state of mind, all the luckier. And that's Brian, Tyree, Henry, certainly Wagner, Moura, the wonderful Marin, Ireland, and I loved playing Teresa.
And then I heard you talk about the accent a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
After watching you in Orange is the New Black, it was hard to convince me that you weren't a little bit Russian. So what did you have to do?
Well, now you know I'm from South Philly.
Exactly.
What are you talking about? That's it.
What was the dialect training like?
Hard. This is hard. A little bit of bending steel, that accent, because it's all over the place. It's a little British, it's a little Southern, it's a little just strictly endemically Philadelphian. It was hard. I never left the accent for longer than a few minutes at any given time. So for the months that I was shooting, that's how I talked. I lost some friends, but I held on to my family members, so I'm lucky.
And then in a show about, I mean, it's not about bad people, but people that do bad things, is there any redemption in that? Like, what are you hoping that people take away from this? Or how do you hope that the audience connects to it?
A celebration of the vulnerability of the human condition. And how, despite everything, despite every tsunamic darkness that may overcome us, we cling to one another in true love, and we take the bullet for true love. And true love is what it's all about. Whether you're a woman from the wrong side of the tracks in South Philly, a woman behind bars and Orange is the New Black, or the captain of a starship. You love who you love until you die.
Kate, thank you so much. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.
Peter, pleasure to be speaking to you, man.
How are you? Good. I don't hold this?
Yeah, I'll give it to you. I'll ask you a question. You were the creator of the show. How does one come up with something so diabolical as, just when you think drug dealers are bad guys, people who steal from drug dealers, where did that come from?
It's more than you think. I mean, the world is more filled with theft on top of theft, because when you get into a world that's outside of the law, everybody sort of feels like they're justified in doing anything. And the only people that would have the balls to actually do this are people that have grown up around the drug trade so much that they feel violated by it, destroyed by it, hurt by it, and almost entitled to go in there and do it. They feel like maybe they're hurting the right people. But you never get to choose who you hurt. You know what I mean? Robin Hood's always accidentally hurting the wrong person. And this is really just about that chaos and how it swells and consumes everybody. As soon as you dip your toe in it, the undertow will just take you under.
It's very well put. Like, I didn't even think of Robin Hood, but that's...
They
really,
thought they were, yeah.
It's a really dark take on it.
Yeah.
Brian also is an executive producer. How was it working with him on that level after seeing him for the past few years as just a really great actor?
Yeah, he's a brilliant producer. I think a lot of actors wind up being really brilliant filmmakers too, because they have so much emotional intelligence. They're paying so much attention on a really, granular level. So he brought all that. I bring him into the edit with me sometimes to ask his take on certain cuts, and he's always got the best eye for everything. He's going to have a long career doing all sorts of things in this business. So it was really fun to do this at the beginning with him.
And then were there any things that he felt he needed to change about his character in that capacity?
We grew throughout the whole way. We have these sort of weekly check-ins where we talk about what you learned the last week, what else do you want to bring to it. He's a character really driven by a lot of grief that he can't confront. And we just really try to figure out where are the places that comes through. Where are you hiding here? Where are you hiding it with humor? Where are you avoiding it here? And you have an actor this brilliant, he can play the defense mechanism, he can play what's behind the defense mechanism, and he can play what's behind that. So it's a Hamlet-like performance from him, and I was just really, really thrilled to work with him.
I agree. It's something very Shakespearean about the whole thing.
Thanks to him, yeah.
And my last question for you is there anything to take away from this? Is there any sort of deeper, thoughts or meditation on redemption?
Yeah, I think that's where it is. I mean, I think what you do is you start with a story where everybody's lying to everybody all the time. They grew up in a world where everybody's lying to everybody. Everybody's got their hands in everybody else's pockets. Everybody's stealing from everybody. You can build whatever metaphor out of that you want for our current times. I'm not going to do it because maybe I'm not brave enough to say that part. But everybody's lying to everybody, and everybody's lying to themselves. And the process of this story is basically breaking down every disguise, every lie, every mask you're going to wear, every charade. Just realizing nothing's going to get better with yourself or with anybody else until you can figure out what the hell the goddamn truth is for everybody. And you just end at a moment where you just at least are sitting in the truth. It might be bad, but at least you're there, and there's nowhere but up from there.
Be able to look at yourself in the mirror. That's all it comes down to. Peter, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I wish you the best of luck with the show.
Thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Have a great day. Amir, pleasure to be speaking with you.
Yeah, pleasure as well.
I'm going to move this slightly back a bit. Sure. Talk to me a little bit about your character in this and what it was like working with two really great actors.
So first of all, I was looking for those characters the whole series. I didn't really get to work with them that much, but then I don't want to give away too much. The cast is phenomenal. And I got to work a lot with Will Poland and Marin, Ireland. Those were my main two scene partners. And we all had come from the theater, so it was the shorthand that we had. A lot of the characters come from the theater. Brian is incredible on stage as well. And then you asked another question. What was it like working on the character?
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about, how would you describe your character?
So, Mark Nader sort of inherited this office. He's the assistant agent in charge of the DEA, sort of in the Philly and surrounding areas. Normally, as an ASAC, you get like 3 to 5 cases you're in charge of, but suddenly the biggest case landed on his lap. That blew up everything, and he had to juggle keeping the department running, rogue agents, hunting down those that kill. I'm not giving it away, it's in the pilot. The people that killed Jack, why Jack was killed, and then all of a sudden realizing that he's up against something bigger than he could have ever imagined, like all the characters are, and how to navigate that at cross purposes with all these criminals and rogue characters. So trying to keep it together when nothing is together was sort of the fun of it. And also throwing in, Peter was really open. We added some humor and added some, you want to humanize the guy as much, not just be the no guy, not just be a stick in the mud sort of boss. That really there's a beating heart inside of that tough as nails cop.
It sounds like you did a lot of research for this.
So Peter was the research. There's 2 big things that clicked for me. Look, I had watched some documentaries on DEA and DEA history, but Peter knew so much that you can't find in the documentary. He talked to guys, he got things off the record that happens between DEA agents that nobody knows about, and some of that stuff is in the series. That was the stuff that was a real giveaway. And then the second big giveaway was the city of Philadelphia itself. Living in Philadelphia during that time, the city has been through a lot. It hasn't recovered well from COVID. There's a sickness in the city. It's also the city of brotherly love. So watching so many people struggle with addiction, mental health, homelessness, crime, it's real rough out there. I thought I was from the streets of New York. I know what I'm doing. No, it's another level. But also, the people are very loving. The restaurants are amazing. And so the city, I feel like the city, and I'm hoping the series is seeking a redemption and a healing. And so that's something that was cool. That actually helped my character a lot. Helped kind of sort of put things in perspective. Like no BS. Like this is real hard knocks of life.
That's cool. That's the first time I think I've heard like a setting impact somebody
big time
while they're filming.
Yeah, while we're filming.
Anything you hope people take away from the show?
I hope they're entertained first, so you can keep watching. And then I think there's a lot of character. Even though it's a crime thriller and a page turner, it's also a character drama. It's a character study on all these characters, and there's a lot. I hope it inspires empathy. Nothing is what it seems. Not everybody is born in great circumstances. There's stuff about incarceration, drug use. People are what they were born into, the trauma they faced, and how they persevered. So if they can do it, you can do it too.
Amir, thank you so much, man. Take care. Sorry, I got 2 words for you, and they're not dope thief.
Okay.
God's Time.
Oh, okay. I love that.
I love that movie. I really love that movie, and I'm so happy to see that you've been moving. You were in Blink twice, but you've been moving on up.
Dude, I'm glad you brought that up.
I'm so proud of you, and especially as Hispanic from New York City.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your journey to this role and what it means to you.
Man, I can say so much about Sherry. Sherry is a Dominican immigrant like myself who's living in Pennsylvania and Philly. And she's just trying to make her circumstances better. And I think the immigrant story is, it's a really big umbrella term for that. You know what I mean? In terms of the story, like everyone can relate to the idea of wanting something better, coming to a country and, figuring it out. And Sherry means a lot to me because I think it was the first time I was really able to authentically play a Dominican character that wasn't based on her just being Dominican. Like for the sake of being Dominican and like her entire character being based on what her culture is. She was way more than that.
Yes.
She was 3-dimensional, she was nuanced, she was complex. And it wasn't just her about being Dominican. I think that's, an amazing opportunity. It was an immense joy to do that,
You know what?
I can't believe you brought up God's Time. That's amazing.
It's a gem. I think it'll eventually become a cult classic. But
I hope so.
Yeah, and so you've obviously been working with a lot of A-listers since then. Who's your favorite? Are you allowed to say?
I can't say that. No. I also don't have a favorite. Everyone's so amazing, and they have everyone, I mean, from Channing to Zoe to Brian, just took me under their wing, which is something I'll forever be grateful for. Like, I was so nervous coming in, and Nesta too. Like, and they just found a way to make me comfortable in my own skin, because when you do something like this, you're like, oh, it's like a fashion show, or like, oh, una pasarela, you know, like it doesn't feel like you're being you. But they always make sure I remember to stay there, to stay myself, remain myself, and that's what's important.
Of course.
Yeah.
Pleasure talking to you. I won't take up any more of your time. Enjoy your night.
Oh, good. Thank you.
No problem.